Hi, my name is Leandro Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? What we have on the menu today is this application called Notestrator. I am developing this app. It's a JavaScript application. It's using Electron, and it allows you to use a drawing tablet, just like this one, for drawing on top of your computer screen, which is useful if you're doing these kinds of live streams like I'm doing right now, or if you are an educator and you have a Zoom meeting or something like that, and you want to show your screen and you want to draw on top of whatever is there to annotate, explain something, draw a diagram, that sort of thing. And the place where we are in the application right now is that it is almost looking good. It's the menu on the left that allows you to select different tools like marker versus highlighter. The menu is almost styled. We have been working on this for several streams now. It's almost done. So today we're going to finish this. We are going to finish styling the menu. And we may do other things like I want to have a custom cursor. We need to work with Electron APIs to do a menu bar thing. So let's jump in. And I'm going to start by showing you what the application looks like right now. So there is the drawing canvas, you can draw on top of your computer screen, and there is this menu, which is what we are styling. So every time I look at the menu again, I think it's useful for me to revisit the decisions and see if things look the way that I want them to look. And this application is meant to be used with the keyboard, so the fact that there is a menu here is just to teach you the keyboard shortcuts, and once you learn the keyboard shortcuts, there will be a way for you to hide the menu, and then from the viewer's perspective it will be transparent. You're just drawing on top of your screen, it will be natural. So we have color selector, and the indication that you are hovering is with a scale, which I think is kind of okay. You can drag anywhere, you can even drag on top of a button, and you can move the menu around. And then there are different stroke widths. And maybe these stroke widths could be a bit further apart. At least these two, they are very near, and I think that maybe they could be further apart, so we can revisit that. Then there are different tools. You can have a marker, you can have a highlighter, and then the eraser, which is not working, so we need to fix this as well. Then there is these three different modes, and we have to style this. This is whatever you draw just stays on the screen. This one is whatever you draw disappears slowly. In this mode, whatever you draw disappears fast. And we want to style these three things. That's where we left off on Friday. And then there are these different modes here. In this mode you are drawing, and in this mode you are interacting with the application underneath, and your drawing continues on the screen. Let's start with the lowest hanging fruit, which is these three guys right here. And I think that the way I'm going to style them is I'm going to have something very similar to this. It will be a line. But then the first line will be continuous, the second line will fade, and the third line will fade faster. It will fade more. So let's start there. Let's find where that is in the app. So it is here, this fading thing. And we have a line. And I believe I want the line to look like the other line above for the stroke width. So let's find that line. It is right here. So copy and paste this line, and I will change the argument. So the stroke width that I liked is 5, if I remember correctly. We have 1, 3, and 5. So 5 is the one that I like. So I'll just replace all these occurrences with the number 5, And I will do the math here. Or maybe I won't. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I guess I'll just leave it like that. And then let's see what this looks like. Fine. So now we need to change the stroke. Are we using the stroke or the fill? We are using the stroke. And currently the stroke is the current color, I suppose. I'm not setting the stroke, so it's just picking up the current color, I guess. Let's see if there's something here about the stroke. I forget. Oh, here it is. So that's why this is being picked up. And I guess we wrote this on Friday and I forgot. But here it is. So the stroke is the current color. But in this case, I don't want the stroke to be the current color. I want the stroke to be a gradient. So that's what I'm gonna do. This is better. So let's find that line, this line, and we will define a gradient that we will use. Well, the first one we don't need a gradient for. So how about we just have gradients on the last two? And I'll call this the stroke. And the stroke will be an SVG gradient. So now we need to search for this MDN SVG gradient, because I don't remember the syntax for this. Okay, so linear gradients are defined in one section, this depth section, and then they are used using an ID. And I'm not sure if there is a way for it to link without an ID. Not that I don't think there is. I'm not aware of a way to link without an ID. So you always have to define a linear gradient on this depths section and then use it using the ID. And then there is this gradient transform, which I don't think I need. And this will be called fade 1500, and this will be called fade 500. And then I remember that there is a way for me to specify where I want these stops to be. If you think of a gradient as 2 points and then a gradient color between the 2 points, these stops are the points. And I don't remember how to specify X and Y coordinates for the stop. I think there is a way, but I don't remember what it is. Let's see the docs for stop. I'll check a place where I remember doing this, and I have a video on my channel in which I do this generative art that I used on my day job actually. So I'll go there real quick and take a peek. Under here, linear gradient. Oh, here it is. So that's how you do it. Instead of specifying just an ID, I can specify these coordinates, and that's how I want to do it. I guess this is kind of equivalent to what they are doing in this example with gradient transform, but I just find it more straightforward to define points like this. So both of them will start at the bottom left and end at the top right. So the bottom left is x0, y100, and the top right is x100, and then y0, just like that. And then we will want to start at 0% and then end at 100%. And then the stop color, well, I wanted to start with the current color, but then I wanted to end with a current color at a certain opacity, which is not something that I can just go ahead and define. So maybe the way to do this is to copy and paste a bit, and I don't think it will be too bad for us to do that. So I know that I'm using gray warm, and oh, but that's just it. The problem is, in dark mode, I will have different colors. I'll worry about dark mode in a moment. I believe I am using gray warm 500. Let me go to my design system and find exactly what color that is. My design system is this package that I keep bringing up in every stream. Haven't actually made a video about this yet, but it's something that is I'm still prototyping and working with it and seeing if I like the way it works. So gray warm 500 is this color. So we can say that the stop color is that, and then we can use an alpha here. So what if the alpha is just like 5 and the alpha here may be 0 0, so this one is completely transparent. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, I actually have not used it. So when I am doing the SVG over here, I will need to say stroke I will also need a separate variable for the stroke ID. So I guess I need to say stroke def and stroke ID, and the stroke ID will be the same as this, so I can move down and copy over, just like that. And then I will have two variables, stroke ID and stroke def. Then here I will use the stroke def. If it exists, it may not exist on the first one, so in the first one I just don't print anything. I guess this needs to be HTML, so I'll do an empty string like that. And then over here, when we have the stroke, we can use URL, and then here the stroke ID. Oh, so if the stroke ID exists, then we'll use it. So this is actually a bit more complicated. It is like this. So if the stroke ID is undefined, then I will want the current color. Otherwise, I will want an URL pointing at the stroke ID, just like this. Let's see what this looks like now. Now it should show something now. Let's see. Okay, it's still showing something, but it's not it's not doing any gradient. My first guess is that I messed up something here in these quotes. Maybe that is the issue. No. I want to take a peek if I can. I'm not sure that I can bring up developer tools on this small window. I don't think I can. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I want to take a peek at the source. I want to see the defs in place and everything. I guess the easiest way to do this is to have something like this, where I comment out all the special things that make this window weird. And this way, it will open as a regular window and I can open the inspector in the regular window. My defs section is there. And then over here the line is using the URL, so the markup looks like the thing I wanted it to look like. What could be going wrong here? Maybe it's not recognizing current color, so how about we just do red and blue. I have no idea, so maybe we can copy and paste the example from MDN and we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so there is a gradient here. Now I just need to figure out what I did wrong. Well, for one thing, they are using a fill while I'm using a stroke, but I don't think that should matter. Yeah, I see a gradient on the stroke, so that's not the issue. Well, I did not include all this preamble on my SVG. Could that be an issue? Maybe it can. Let me bring that circle up to the beginning so it's not cropped. Okay, the circle is here and I definitely see a gradient. So doing a gradient on the stroke is okay. What if I bring... One cool thing about using an SVG embedded in HTML is that these IDs are just like HTML IDs. They work across SVGs. So I could bring this circle, so I'll leave the defs here, but I will bring the circle down to my line. It is not picking up the gradient. And also, this color is different. So it's picking up the current color. So maybe the issue is that CSS thing that is making the current color work has a higher precedence and it's overriding my stroke. So I think I figured the problem already and I can remove that cruft. I can remove this circle as well. Let's see what other curves I may have introduced. So yeah, I have to not commit this. And over here, I have my IDs and defs. Well, you know what? Instead of having stroke def embedded in the SVG like this, I just mentioned how you can take an ID and use it across SVGs on the HTML. So I could put an SVG here that doesn't really render anything, so it is visually hidden. This visually hidden class comes from my design system, and it doesn't hide the element using display none or visibility hidden. It actually offsets the thing off the screen and makes it super small and whatnot. Usually this is for screen readers, but I find that you can also use this for defining stuff. So you can use these defs things in an SVG that is visually hidden, and that is just a bunch of definitions. If you try to use display none, or if you try to hide it using hidden or whatnot, then the linear gradients don't work. So now we can remove this stroke def stuff. Okay, so far I just shuffle things around. I did not fix anything, not really. I don't need two defs sections. Can do it like this. Yeah, you know what? This works, but I kind of prefer my previous solution because of the collocation of the strokes and where they are used. So I guess I will revert these changes. Okay. Let me see if I like this stage before I move on and lose stuff. So I have my stroke ID and def, and I am using my stroke def and my stroke ID. There we go. So what I think is happening is that my styles are overriding this, so I'll use stroke, basically this, using CSS. And I think that will have a higher precedence. There you go, it is fading now, so I can remove the shenanigans to test. The easiest way for me to do that is to come here and reverse these changes. Okay, and now it fades. I don't think it fades fast enough. How about we go to the linear gradients and play around a bit? Can we do fade between the current color and transparent? Yes, we can. And now we can use this stop offset to change how soon this is fading. So let's say that this fades at 80% and this at 40%. Okay, I think it's a bit too much, but I think that the effect works. Not quite. Maybe if the gradient goes in the other direction. Let's see what that looks like. Currently it's going from bottom left to upper right. What if it goes from top left to bottom right? So this is 0, 0, 100, 100. Yeah, I think that if I calibrate this, it has more potential of looking okay. kind of looks 3D, which is not my intent, so maybe that's not ideal. Yeah, this makes it like 3D, and yeah, I don't like that, so I'll go back to the other version. And maybe this will be 50 and 90. Let's see what that looks like. Does not look great. What if instead of a line we had something like a rectangle? To draw a rectangle, I think I just need to do this. And I probably want to do it with the fill. Okay, so that's not how you define a rectangle with SVG. Let's search for this. Oh, I give it X and Y and width and height. Okay. So we are working with 20. We're working with something that is fractional actually. So we are working with 20 minus 2 halves minus 3. So we are working with 14.5. Let's work with 15. Yeah, we definitely need to change this to be a fill, and we don't want any stroke now. Oh, it's still doing the stroke because of the CSS precedence. So we'll say stroke none, and we'll say fill with that. And my coordinates are wrong, so let me try to fix the coordinates. Why are they wrong? I cannot really tell. I'll also want some borders or rounded corners, and that's how you do it. So I'll do like 3, and it's too far to the right. Well, at this point I can just remove this can, I guess, like that. Yeah, that's more like it. Let's make it smaller. And let's make the gradient go from top left to bottom right. I'm not too happy with this stop offset. I'll go to 60, and this will be at 100. It's looking good enough for me. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I can live with that. It's not super intuitive what's going on, but if you just try it, it will be obvious. Let's commit what we have and see if we can simplify this somewhat. Pretty sure we can simplify this. So now we have a stroke depth that is very similar because we are using current color and transparent. So here's how we can do this. We can define, it's not even a stroke anymore, it's a fill. So here's how we're gonna do it. Gradient will be a number that is the number where you stop. So it will be a gradient of 100 here, it will be a gradient of 60 there. Then we're gonna move these depths down. Now we don't have stroke ID or stroke depth. What we have is just gradient. And I will check. Do I have a gradient? If I don't, then don't do anything. If I do, then that definition. And the ID will be fade gradient, and this offset is gradient, and then over here I will need to check, do I have a gradient? If I don't, current color, otherwise it's called fade gradient. Stroke depth is not defined. And here we are. Same thing, but simpler. Next, we need to tackle this extra space at the bottom. I remember seeing somewhere in the Electron docs that you could create a window that would occupy the size of your content. Let's try to find this again. Electron window, fit, content, width, and height. Yeah, that's what I remember seeing. Use content size. The width and height would be used as web pages size, which means the actual window size, you include window frame size and be slightly larger. What? The width and height would be used as web pages size, which means the actual window size will include window frame size and be slightly larger. Ah, okay. So this is like content box versus... Yeah, the box sizing CSS property, it's related to that. Do you mean the width to be the width of the window with the frame or just your content? That's not a way to say that I want my window to occupy the size of my content. So I will have to hard code this. And that's unfortunate because the height of my window depends on the text, which may have different line heights in different operating systems. No, I actually think that I am using a set line height. So I think it will be the same in every operating system. I think that this will work fine. So all we have to do is find what size we want. So I think we'll do something around 96 by, how about 380? Let's see if we can find in the design system something close that we can use. So 380 divided by 16 is around 23 or 24 rems. And so let's find something that is 24 rems. So maybe we can use this. And 24 rems times 16 is 384. Very close. I think that is okay. It's a bit too long, but that's okay. Let me double check my work. So this width small is 24 rems times 16 is 384. And do I have something that is 23 rems? No. I have something that is 24 rems, which is also my space 96. So maybe I should use space 96 instead. It's just a comment, it doesn't matter too much, but it matches the other one, and I like that. Perfect, so everything is in the design system, and we have our lovely little menu. Let me commit what I have, and then we'll move on to other things. So happy that the menu is finally styled. Isn't that awesome? Took so long to get here. Let's move on to something else. Let's try to make the eraser work because it's the only thing that is broken right now. Let's investigate why the eraser is broken. I'll open the developer tools, but not on the menu window, but on the drawing window. Oh, I cannot seem to do that. Not able to do that. That's unfortunate, but I can probably hack something together here. I think I can just say drawing developer. Let's look for Electron Open Dev Tools. Oh no, get out of the way. There must be a programmatic way for me to do this. I know there is. I just don't know how it is called. Okay, so that's how you do it. Here we are. So while the developer tools are open, the window is not transparent, but that's fine. We can draw. Then we can look at the SVG. And then we see, oh, okay, so there is something here. Cannot read property map of null. Okay, so that is a simple problem, probably. It's probably over here in the implementation of the eraser on mouse move. I'm trying to match this pattern and I'm mapping over it. Then I split on the comma, and yeah, so this whole treatment, there's some bug in here. That's what this is. Let's see the error message again, but in more detail this time. Cannot read property map of null. Oh, let's look at what the SVG looks like. Let's see if we can find one of these patterns in there. Yeah, you can see a C and then a bunch of numbers, and then C and a bunch of numbers. Yeah, the issue really is on these lines. But they look correct to me. Well, let's start to investigate by printing stuff out to the console. It's null. So that is our issue. But we are able to call match, so get attribute is returning something. The problem is with this regular expression, it seems. Let's see if we can match a C, just a letter C. Yes, we are able to match just the letter C. Let's see if we can match a C followed by a number. Nope. So if we have something like this and try to match with this regular expression, it should match. But it's not. So there is our issue. Oh, okay. The issue is it's so annoying. I am using JavaScript to generate HTML that has JavaScript in it, so there is a lot of nesting, and when I moved things around, this \d was converted into just a D. So I put a \d and I tell Prettier to format, it gets rid of the slash. That is the issue with the eraser. The interaction between regular expressions and the whole shenanigans I'm using to generate HTML. Now that I know the issue, I can remove all of this. And a quick way to fix this is, well, I want to do it everywhere. So look for match. It seems like this is the only occurrence. The other one is commented out. And I'll also look for test. No, it seems like match is the only place where I'm using this regular expression here. So the way I can do this is by interpolating a regular expression, because in JavaScript a regular expression prints as itself. And there are no escaping issues. Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate, but I think it will work now. So we can draw, and the eraser erases. Alrighty. Fixed the eraser. Next, let's play around with cursors. Can I define custom cursors? I think I can. Do I want to use any of the existing ones? I could use a crosshair. Oh, and I can define PNGs. And I can define SVGs. Great. Oh, and I can even define where the hotspot is. That's great. Oh, and here I can play with all the cursors. I think that having a custom cursor will be ideal for the app. Because then I will be able to play with colors and everything. Okay, so there may be size limitations. But let's start with something simple. Let me go to the body of the drawing area. And we'll say that the cursor is... Let's start with crosshair. Just to see if we change the cursor correctly and if it doesn't affect the menu. So the menu is unaffected, but it doesn't seem to work either. Maybe this is because the drawing window cannot receive focus, I don't think. Focusable false. So because the focus is not there, it doesn't show the custom cursor. Let's see if the menu has, because it has focus, if I can put a custom cursor on the menu. Yeah, but it only shows in the menu. And I don't want the drawing area to be focusable because of the keyboard shortcuts. Let's investigate. If I have a custom cursor on a window that is focusable, does it show up? Yes, as long as the focus is there, it shows up. But then the keyboard shortcuts don't work. Maybe I could listen for the keyboard shortcuts and send them to the right window, to the menu window. When the menu window is focused, I can send keyboard shortcuts, but when the drawing window is focused, I cannot. Let me go to my menu window and make it focusable false. I want to do that so I don't have the dichotomy of where is the focus. And I can still move a window that is not focused, but the shadow doesn't change when I am focusing on the window. So now I cannot send keyboard shortcuts, not even when I have the window selected, because it will never receive focus. And my custom cursor works just fine. But then I need to forward all the keyboard shortcuts Let me see if I can grab events. I'm using this library called Mousetrap to do keyboard shortcuts. So now I'm bringing Mousetrap into the drawing window. And I will say and Mousetrap bind something like a letter F to a function that does alert F. This allows us to see if we can send keyboard shortcuts, and what if I click there? I can still send keyboard shortcuts just fine. So it seems like the keyboard shortcuts need to be bound on the drawing window, which is something that we had originally in our original design. The drawing window had the focus and the menu didn't have focus. Now because of the custom cursors, we'll have to do that again, but we'll need to forward the keyboard shortcuts for that to work. Yeah, let's try to do that. It shouldn't be too hard. So I guess over here in my SVG, or even over here at the top, I can say document on key press or add event listener key press. And I probably want my event, and I will alert the event. Just make sure that I'm capturing the event. So I'm drawing, I type something. Even if the last window I interacted with was my menu, even in that case, I'm still receiving keyboard events. Now I need to forward this to the other window, and to be able to do that, I will need to pass through the main process. But I have an IPC renderer here, so that is easy. I can just say IPC renderer dot, I think it's send, and I will call this event a Mousetrap event. And I want to pass the event itself. I will forward the event itself. And then on my main window, where am I listening for events on the main window? Right here. So I'll say IPC main on Mousetrap. And this will be my event. I will console log the event. to show that I am bringing the event from the drawing window to the main process. It doesn't seem to get there. About to forward to IPC renderer or to main process. About to forward to main process. So this event handler is triggering and it's using IPC renderer to send something that we do in other places. So this works. And then we give the event name and a value. But somehow the event is not getting here. Why are we unable to get this event? Why are we sending but not getting it? Let's see how we are using this other event. We are using it exactly the same way. IPC renderer, send the name of the event and the value. Big mystery on our hands. Could it be that I'm trying to send an event and it doesn't like that? I don't necessarily need that right away. Let's see if that works. I guess I will comment this part. So that was the issue. Sending the event doesn't make Electron too happy. It doesn't seem to be able to serialize, so it doesn't even send the event. That's okay. Let's see if that really is the issue. Yeah, that really is the issue. What if we just JSON stringify the event? What we get on the other side. Okay, we don't get much, but we get something. Well, let's investigate for a moment how we are going to... I'm going to leave this tab open for the cursor. Let's investigate for a moment how we can trigger the events with Mousetrap. This is actually the docs for Mousetrap. Mousetrap trigger. Any keyboard event that has been bound can be triggered by passing the string you used when you bound it originally. Note that this is not actually triggering a key event in the browser, it's simply firing the event you bound to that key within Mousetrap. This method also accepts an optional argument for what type of event to trigger. So you'll need a string. That will be weird. But there is another method record, we may be able to use this. Not really. Let's see if there's something we can copy and paste from here that will produce a string for us. The solution is here under recorded sequence callback. Well, not really. Normalize sequence. Come on, it shouldn't be that hard. Record current combo. Current recorded keys. Yeah, that's complicated. That's not gonna fly. I mean, we need to produce a string that is super specific. It's not gonna work. We need to rethink this whole strategy. This is not gonna work. So we are not able to trigger the mouse events on the menu. What if we use the mouse events on the main window? Oh, I hate this. We need to have two windows. Let's go back to the basics. We need to have two windows because we want to make one of these windows click through. So we can only do that if we have two windows. You cannot make part of a window click through. So having two windows is essential. And we are binding the keyboard shortcuts on the menu because it makes more sense. The buttons are on the menu, so the keyboard shortcuts are right next to the thing that they activate. But because of the cursor issue, the focus needs to be on the main window. And because the focus needs to be on the main drawing window, the keyboard shortcuts need to fire there. So what if we bind? So what if there is this tension? I want the definitions of the keyboard shortcuts to be near the buttons that are activated. So I want the keyboard shortcuts to be defined over here on the menu, but I want them to be activated on the main window. So what if I provide some way for the menu to bind keyboard shortcuts on the main window? These keyboard shortcuts will then go through the main process back again into the menu. I mean, the part of when you get a keyboard shortcut on the main window, you need to traverse that event back to the menu is essential because we want to trigger the buttons on the menu, and we get the event from the main window. So that part of the transaction needs to occur. But here is a workaround. We can leave the whole infrastructure as it is, and instead of forwarding a whole event and trying to trigger the general kind of event or trying to convert an event into a mousetrap string, we have a special case here actually. All our keyboard shortcuts are single digits or letters. So here's something we can do. When we get a key press, I'm going to send not the event, but the event key. And then on IPC main, I'll have a key, and I will send a key down to the menu window. So I'll do something similar to this, except that I don't actually need the result. So there I will say mousetrap trigger Okay, let's see how this works. It explodes. Well, because I don't need the result, I can just not await on the thing. Otherwise, I would have to make this function async. Okay, it worked, but it throws an exception. I am able to draw and send keyboard shortcuts, but it's throwing an exception. So what is going on? An object could not be cloned. What does mousetrap trigger return? Well, to figure this out, we'll have to go to the types for mousetrap. Does mousetrap come with its own types, or does it depend on definitely typed? It depends on definitely typed. So let's go to add types mousetrap. We're getting very deep in the rabbit hole for something that was supposed to be simple. It returns a mousetrap instance for chaining, and probably the mousetrap instance cannot be cloned over the wires. So how do I ignore this? Well, let me go to the Electrum docs. What am I looking for? Web contents. Now I'm doing this for the side effects. I don't want it to return anything. Well, what if I just say this? This will work, but let me do a quick search. How to ignore a value in JavaScript. I can wrap it in a function. Guys, I'll wrap it in a function. There is no documentation on how to do this. I believe that this is like ancient thing, but I believe you can just put a block around the thing and it will execute but ignore the outputs. Let's see if that works. It's kind of a big hack, but we'll see. An object could not be cloned. So that is not ignoring it. I believe this would work. Let's see. Yeah. So the keyboard shortcuts are working and it's not trying to clone the mousetrap stuff. So I kind of like this better because when it wasn't able to serialize the event from the renderer process to the main process, it just dropped the thing on the floor. But this time, using execute JavaScript, it sees that it cannot serialize the mousetrap coming from the menu window, and it complains, which is smarter. In any case, I was saying that I think that the best way to represent this intent is to have an immediately invoked function expression. And this way the value will be ignored. There you go. And I have my custom cursor. Okay, that was a bit of handstanding, but it kind of works. As long as all my keyboard shortcuts are very simple. Oh, and also there is another problem. If I say something like Command A, or maybe Control A, yeah, it still triggers the keyboard shortcuts, but I think I will leave that for now. Unless I come up with something else that is smarter. At this point, I'm kind of not even using the advantages of Mousetrap. I'll just go with this for now. I'll think more about it later. I'm not too happy with this solution. I definitely know that I need to do this forwarding. So that part I'm okay with. But the handling of the event itself is not clean. Okay, so we are making the main window, the drawing window, focusable. And we are making the menu window not focusable. And we are defining focusable right after frame, so that is correct. And then we are forwarding the event, the key press event. So we are grabbing the key press event. Where are we doing that? Right here. We are grabbing the key press event and we are forwarding it like that. It would not be the end of the world to reconstruct one of these mousetrap strings, because we are not using escape or anything complicated like that. But I'll not dive into that right now. I'm going to leave this. I'm not too happy with this solution. I will rethink it, but let's move on to the cursors. That's why we are here. We want to have an SVG for the cursor. And now we need to define that on the drawing window. So look for crosshair, and let's do an SVG instead. Well, to define an SVG, we need to use URL, but we can have a URL that is a data URL. We know how to do that. We are using that to render the HTML and put it in place right here. So we already have HTML to URL. So all we have to do is call HTML to URL, and our HTML will be a simple SVG. Isn't that great? I kind of don't want to extract the inline styles, however. Because that will produce a whole HTML preamble. So I don't think that this will work first try, but let's start. I think I need a whole SVG, so why don't I find something that I can copy and paste? Oh, come on, give me an SVG that I can copy and paste. Oh, come on, give me an SVG that I can copy and paste. Here we are. But there is a problem, because our HTML to URL is extracting inline styles. And that will produce a whole HTML file, which is not what I want. So how about I give it an option? The option will be extract inline styles equals false. Or actually, by default, I want it to be true. So by default, it will extract the inline styles. And here I can say if extract inline styles, then the HTML equals that. And now we can say that this one, HTML to URL, will have an extract inline styles of false. Okay, extract inline styles is not a function, probably because I named the variable the same thing. So yeah, I will rename this variable. That's fine. I'll call this options. Oh no, then that is an option, so I have to do it this way, but I will just call it something like should extract inline styles. Okay, something happened. We are not getting any errors, but we are also not getting a custom cursor. Well, we are now talking about the main window, so I guess I can just bring in the developer tools and see what that looks like. Really, can I see the whole style? If I go to sources, no, really, can I please see the whole styles? Shouldn't be that hard. Oh no, ellipsis, it's too long. Sources, this thing. Now I will see the whole thing. Yeah, it seems to be encoding just right. This seems like a valid thing. You know what I'm gonna do? I will real quick, I will console log. Oh, but this is so nested, it's hard to console log this. What if I just have, hang on, I think I know what the issue is. Right after my, oh no, it's not, I have a semicolon there. But what if I have a fallback, like a crosshair? Yeah, so the crosshair is working, so I'm guessing that my issue here is that this SVG doesn't make for a good cursor. I don't know, maybe it's too big. So let's go with a view box of 10 by 10. Just have one circle, just like that. Still using the crosshair. Does this whole thing of using SVGs as cursor even works in Chrome? Let's come up with a simple page here that has nothing to do with the whole shenanigans we are doing. We'll also have an SVG on disk. I think I need a preamble that says that the SVG is XML, so maybe that's what I'm missing. Let me go to my icon, my favorite icon library. Not the icon library I'm using, but my favorite. I'm not using this one in this project because it doesn't have an icon that I need, the highlighter icon. I like this library and I can copy and paste this over here. No, doesn't come with the preamble. Oh, come on. I'll use Inkscape to create an SVG that has the right format. Okay, my document will be small. It will be in pixels and it will be 10 by 10. Let's zoom in, and our cursor will be a rectangle that will be red, and we are gonna save this as a plain SVG on the Notestrator folder under cursor SVG. Now we have a legit SVG created by Inkscape that has the right preamble. Now let's create a page and we'll style the body. We'll have a cursor that will be an URL that will be our cursor.svg file. And over here I'll just say hello. Now let's open this file on Chrome. Notestrator, index.html. Oh, it seems to not work, just in general. Is it the quotes? No. Chrome SVG cursor. Okay, the person is saying that maybe the width and height are not specified. Let's see if that's the case. No, the width and the height have been specified. I'll try Alto. No. I'll try single quotes. Oh no, I don't want to start the app. No. Cursors are being a lot harder than I was expecting them to be. This is atrocious. No. I want to see a working example. I think that this may not be possible. Okay, it is possible. I have an example. Can I have an SVG? Doesn't seem to work with SVGs. Maybe PNGs, but not SVGs. Is this something that works in any browser? Ah. So SVGs work on some browsers and not on other browsers. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. That makes me calmer now that I know the problem. But it seemed to be making some mistake because not even that is working in Safari. Oh, but you know what? So there is this solution. The solution here is you don't show the cursor and you draw something and you track that something across the screen, which is fine. But if I do that, then I don't need to do the whole shenanigans with the focus because the window will not be, it doesn't need to be in focus because I won't be changing the cursor using CSS anyway because it doesn't work. Unless I do it with PNGs, but then I would have less control over the thing. And because I can just have an element like an SVG that will track the cursor, The advantage of doing that is that I'll have control of the SVG in the document. The SVG will be nested in the document. That is a better solution in all aspects. So let's see what we have here. We have this. We need to sort of undo a lot of things now. Essentially, we need to undo the last commit, but I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So let's see. This will not fly, and we want to remove the cursor thing altogether. Then this we don't need anymore. So effectively I just undid the changes. Oh, there's still something else. Oh yeah, I removed the line. That's okay. But now let's change back the focus and the whole thing, and then we'll wrap it up. I feel like I'm missing something. The IPC main stuff, yes, that's what I'm missing. Let me go back in the history here and see what else I may be missing. So I reverted this focusable thing. So now the drawing window is focusable. This key press stuff I removed. The cursor crosshair I removed as well. The focusable is only here. And that's the kind of thing that I do while I'm developing, and it's an enhancement that I want to keep. This tags the thing as being client-side JavaScript, and that's why I didn't want to just simply reverse the git commit. But we are in a good state now. Excellent. So I can see if there are no other changes. There are. Okay, so we are back to where we started. We don't have a custom cursor, but the window that has focus is the menu window. I can draw and I can send keyboard shortcuts, and I don't have to forward any events. The eraser is working. And that is it for today. I mean, we kind of went back and forth here, but this cursor situation is actually harder than I was expecting. So doing the forwarding of the keyboard events will not be necessary. The window that will be in focus will be the menu window, and we are going to do a custom cursor using an SVG, but not using the cursor property because it doesn't seem to work in Google Chrome. And instead what we're gonna do is use an SVG that will be in the document, and we'll move it around with the cursor, and we'll do that by hand. And that will give us a lot more control. We'll have the whole design system to work with when doing this SVG, and we can change its size and everything programmatically, which will be a lot better. Yeah, so the schedule looks like this. Tomorrow I will not be streaming here on my channel. I'll be streaming on IDDQD Sound, as I'm doing every Tuesday. On Wednesday, IDDQD, the person behind IDDQD Sound, Arya, will be here on my channel, but we'll not be talking about programming. We'll be talking about music production. We'll record some acoustic guitar and see what kinds of effects we want to do and where we want to position microphones, that sort of thing. Then on Thursday, I'll return to Notestrator and we'll do the custom cursor. And then on Friday, I will continue working on Notestrator. But yeah, so that's the schedule. Tomorrow, IDDQD Sound, I see you there. See you on Wednesday over here to do some acoustic guitar recording. It will be fun. And I see you again on Thursday to do the custom cursor for Notestrator. Thank you all for subscribing to my channel and for supporting me on PayPal and Patreon and for watching this. I see you on the next one. Bye.